Good morning, children, and welcome to the class of English. Today, we are going to study a play from Supplementary Reader Book of English for class 12, that is, Vistas. And the title of the chapter is On the Face of It. And, children, today I'm going to give the detailed explanation of this chapter. First of all, let's study about the main characters of this play. So, only two main characters are there. First, Daddy, a boy in his teens. He is withdrawn and defiant, bitter towards the world. He is lonely and pessimistic and cares too much about his disability and hates it when people stare or pity him. So, Daddy was withdrawn. Withdrawn means he feels uncomfortable while talking about the others, and especially with talking with others. And he has a bitter feeling towards the world because they make fun of him, they talk about him. He feels lonely and he has a negative outlook. And he's very much concerned about his disability because when people stare at him or pity him, he hates it. On the contrary, Mr. Lamb, he is an optimistic, lonely, but happy person and he does not care much about his disability and has learned to accept it. Children, it all depends on age. As Derry was inexperienced child, this was his condition, and Mr. Lamb had seen the entire world and everything. So he had this philosophy in his mind that how to handle the situations. But children, the interaction between Derry and Mr. Lamb changed the outlook and attitude of even Derry at that young age. So the first scene is located in Mr. Lamb's garden, and there is an occasional sound of bird song and of tree leaves rustling. Daddy's footsteps are heard as he walks slowly and hesitantly through the long grass. He comes round a screen of bushes when Mr. Lamb speaks to Daddy. He is close at hand. Naturally, Daddy is startled. The first scene opens in the garden of Mr. Lamb, and there is occasional sound of birds and of trees leaves rustling. Daddy footsteps are heard as he walks through the long grass. As and when he comes around a screen of bushes, Mr. Lamb comes in the scene. He starts speaking to Daddy, and with this, Daddy got startled or shocked. Mr. Lamb asks Daddy to mind the apples. Daddy inquires about the person. Mr. Lamb gives his name and again asks him to mind the apples. See, the garden was filled up with crab apples, and Mr. Lamb, as he was a very caring person, he asks Derry to mind the apples because he could slip by stepping upon the crab apples. Mr. Lamb tells his name and he says that mind those apples. They have been blown down from the tree by the wind and are lying in the long grass. The boy could step on one of them and fall. Derry tries to explain. He says that he thought that it was an empty place. He did not know there was anybody there. Mr. Lamb asks him not to be afraid. He explains that the house is empty since he is out in the garden. He observes that such a beautiful day is not worth spending indoors. So Derry tries to give explanation that, sir, I'm here because I thought that nobody is there. And then Mr. Lamb explains that house is empty because I'm out in the sun. I want to enjoy this beautiful day. And I thought that if the day is beautiful, why not step out of the house? Daddy panics and says that he has got to go. Mr. Lamb assures him that he should not feel disturbed. On his account, he doesn't mind who comes into the garden. The garden is always open. It was only the boy who climbed the garden wall. Daddy is angry that The old man had been watching him. Mr. Lamb welcomes Daddy. So Daddy panics, he gets afraid, and he says that, Sir, I should now leave. Mr. Lamb assures that don't worry and don't feel disturbed. The garden's gate is always open. It is only you who climbed the wall to enter the garden. Now, Daddy gets angry that old man had been watching him for quite a long time. But Mr. Lamb welcomes Daddy. Daddy explains that he had not come to steal anything. Mr. Lamb assures him that he hadn't. He further adds that only the young lads steal. They steal apples from the garden. He is not that young. Daddy explains that he just wanted to come into the garden. He wants to go and say goodbye. So Daddy gives still continues with his explanation. Sir, I have not come here to steal anything. So Lamb tells him, No, no, I know that thing that you are not here to steal something because stealing is being done by the more younger children, and you are not so young. But Daddy says, Sir, actually, I want to take your leave, uh, and he wants to say goodbye. Mr. Lamb tells him that there is nothing to be afraid of. It is the garden, and only one person, that is he himself, is there. Daddy then says that people are afraid of him. He asks Mr. Lamb to look at him, and after seeing his face, he might think that he is the most frightful and ugliest thing. Daddy says that when he looks in the mirror and sees his face, he is afraid of it. Mr. Lamb says that the whole of his face is not frightening. Children, you might notice that at this point of time, Daddy informs Mr. Lamb that people are afraid of him because of his burnt face. Don't you find, children, there is change in the communication process? Daddy, who was earlier panicky and afraid person, now was slightly opening up. He was trying to change, exchange communication with Mr. Lamb. And how does it become possible? Because Mr. Lamb was always a welcoming person. He welcomed Daddy and tried to make him comfortable. As Daddy asked that his face is most frightful when he looks into the mirror. So Mr. Lamb informs him that on the whole, child, your face is not frightful. You still appear a cute child. There is pause. Mr. Lamb now changes the topic. He says that when it is a bit cooler, he'll get the ladder and a stick and pull down those crab apples. They are ripe for making a jelly. September is the right time of year for it. The apples look orange and golden. He tells Daddy that he could help him. In the meantime, children, Mr. Lamb changes the topic and he says to Daddy, Daddy, it's the right time, that is the month of September, and if it'll become a little cooler, I'll bring the ladder and just pick up those crab apples, and they are very nice for making jelly. Daddy asks him what he has changed the subject for. He says that the old man does not ask him because he's afraid to do so. Daddy says that he doesn't like being with people. Mr. Lamb makes a guess. Perhaps the boy got burned in a fire. Daddy says that he got acid all down that side of his face and burned it all away. Daddy asks Mr. Lamb if he's not interested. The old man says he's interested in anybody and anything made by God, even grass, rubbish, weeds, flowers, fruit. He observes that it is all life, developing just as they are. So, Daddy, he was much concerned. The children, with certain kind of handicap, they are very concerned, they're very curious. They feel even a small change in the person who's in front of them. So, Daddy also understood that thing, and he asks Mr. Lamb, sir, why have you changed the topic? We are talking about my handicap. So Mr. Lamb says, no, no, child, this was not the case. Actually, I was also worried about the crab apples. Then Mr. Lamb makes a guess and thought that might be his face got burnt due to fire. But Daddy explains, sir, my face got burnt not by fire, but as it fell all down one side of my face. And then he asked Daddy, because he concerned, sir, now are you interested in talking with me? The old man says that he's interested in anybody because everything is made by God, everything is a creation of God. Even grass, weeds, flowers, fruits. When Derry says that they are not the same, Mr. Lamb says that there is no difference. He is old, Derry is young, and he has got a burnt face. The old man has got a tin leg. His real one got blown off years back in the war. So when Derry says that they are not the same, so Mr. Lamb informs him they are same chai, and because I have got a tin leg and you have got a burnt face. But the only difference is that you are young and I am old. Some kids call lamb Lemmy lamb, but it doesn't disturb him. There are plenty of other things that his leg to stare at. He refers to Beauty and the Beast. Daddy says that no one will kiss him. He won't change. But Daddy was much concerned about his face. See, it is the mentality of children. At a young age, they fill colors into the portrait of their life. And if anything gets painted black, and that too for a whole life, what a shocking thing would it be for them. Same was the condition of Daddy. He had tried to understand life, and suddenly something havokingly happened with him, which made him a totally disturbed person. Lamb had seen the world. He was an experienced person. That's why he understands things. But for Daddy, it was not the same. Daddy said that people talk about persons who are in pain and brave and never cry or complain and don't feel sorry for themselves. People try to console people suffering from physical impairment by asking them to think of all those people worse off than them. They might have been blinded or born deaf or have to live in a wheelchair or be insane and dribble, but all this will not change his face. Even totally strange persons call him terrible. Dennis then talks about the persons, those who are born deaf, blind, or they have started living on wheelchair. He talks about everyone, but still, again, when he comes back to the point, that is his face, he again gets disheartened that his face will never change. Daddy repeats that he doesn't like being near people, especially when they stare at him and when he sees them being afraid of him. Mr. Lamb then tells him the story of a man who was afraid of everything in the world. So he locked himself in his room and stayed in his bed. A picture fell off the wall into his head and killed him. Now, Mr. Lamb tried to explain Daddy with an example. He says to Daddy, there was one man who was afraid of everything, so he locked himself inside a room and stayed in his bed. Suddenly, a picture fell off the wall into his head and he died. So, what moral lesson this story teaches? That it's not like that. You won't get hurt inside the house and you stop moving out of the house. Anything could happen because it's life. So, we should enjoy it. Daddy says that the old man said peculiar things. Then he asks what he does all day. Mr. Lamb replied that he sits in the sun, he reads books, his house is full of books. His house has no curtains, as he does not like shuttling things out. He likes the light and the darkness. He hears the wind from the open window. Daddy too hears the sound of rain on the roof when it is raining. Mr. Lin observed that if he hears things, he is not lost. Daddy says that people talk about him downstairs when he is not there. They seem to be worried about him and the future. Mr. Lamb gives him a very inspiring advice. He will get on the way. He wants, like all the rest, as he had all the God given organs. He could even get on better than all the rest if he is determined to do so. The children daddy asks Mr. Lamb what he does all the day. So he says, I sit in the sun, I read books, my house is full of books. My house has no curtains. I don't like setting things. Then Mr. Lamb says to daddy, I listen to the sound of rain rattling on the roof. Then daddy also likes that thing. So Mr. Lamb says to him that daddy, you do have complete organs in your body. Although I have lost one organ of my body. So why you are afraid? You have all the organs granted by God. And it means you must be determined and live a good life. Mr. Lamb tells daddy that he has hundreds of friends. The gate is always open. People come in, kids come for apples, pears, and for toffees. He makes toffee with honey. And sometimes his friendship may be one sided. Even if daddy might never see him again, Mr. Lamb would be still his friend. Then Mr. Lamb informed daddy that many a children come in this park and I have friendship with them. Sometimes the friendship is one sided. Even if daddy won't return again, then he would be the friend of Mr. Lamb. He tells daddy that hating others is bad. It harms more than any bottle of acid. Everything is same, but everything is different. Daddy's attitude shows a gradual change. He wants to come there again. He thinks that other friends of Mr. Lamb might go away if he came. Mr. Lamb assures him that people are not afraid of him because he's not afraid of them. So Daddy's attitude now changes. He wants to come there again. He thinks that the other friends of Mr. Lamb might go away. If he came, Mr. Lamb assures him that people are not afraid of him. Now, Daddy wants to stay there, but he has to inform his mother where he is. His house is 3 miles away. Mr. Lamb asks him to run there and inform his mother. Daddy asks the old man about the persons who come there. He thinks that nobody ever comes there. The old man is there all by himself and miserable. No one would know if he were alive or dead or anybody cared. Daddy says that he will come back, then Daddy runs off. Daddy then informs Mr. Lamb that, Sir, I have to inform my mother, and I have not informed her when I started from there. So I have to inform my mother, then I'll come back. And Daddy was sure to come back there again. In the second scene, we see Daddy and his mother. He informs his mother about the lame old man. She tells him not to go there. Daddy says that he wants to go there, sit and listen to things and look. Nobody else has ever said the things the old man has said. When his mother says that he is best off there, Daddy says he hates it there. He no longer cares about his face. It is not important. It's what he thinks, feels, sees, hears, and finds out that is important. He is going there to help the old man with crab apples and to look at the things and listen. If he doesn't go back there, he will never go anywhere in that world again. Children, Daddy was so much motivated by Mr. Lamb that in the second scene between Daddy and his mother, when mother refuses that Daddy must not be there in the garden, Daddy says, Mother, I want to go there, and if I will not go there, I will not go anywhere in the wet world again. I don't care about my face, what it is, but I am more careful about the things which I feel, see, hear. third or the last scene is again located in Mr. Lamb's garden. There he reaches Mr. Lamb's garden, panting. He finds Mr. Lamb lying on the grass with the ladder. Derry tells him that he has come back. Since Mr. Lamb fails to respond, Derry kneels by him and begins to weep, and the curtain falls. The play has a very pathetic or tragic end. The third or last scene again opens up in the Lamb's garden. Derry reaches there, but he found Mr. Lamb was panting. His breath was, he was breathless. He found him there and sees that the grass where the ladder was lying. He asked Mr. Lamb, and he was shocked to find out that when Daddy left from there, Mr. Lamb tried to pick those crab apples, and in return, he fell down and now was going to die. Derry kneels by him and begins to cry, and the curtain falls. So, children, this play has a very pathetic ending, and just because of this, we are sad. But still, children, this play teaches us a very nice thing, that is, positive attitude towards life. So, children, that's all about this chapter, but still, it is not complete until and unless you read the dialogues, you understand the scenes, and try to match the explanation which I have given here with the play. So, till then, children, thank you and goodbye.